I think it's fair for me to say that Frostpunk 2 wasn't really the sequel many fans were expecting. It changed the scope of the game to be more about politics rather than city building. City building was transformed into a more macro building exercise to increase a number for a resource, and personally for me, yes, I dropped off of Frostpunk 2 pretty quick while I played the first Frostpunk for a good damn while. Yes, you could say I was a little bit disappointed with Frostpunk too. Look, I appreciate the bravery or the bravado of 11-bit studios to do something different rather than doing the same thing again. As a YouTuber talking about games, yes, it's something I talk about a lot when it comes to AAA games, not taking risks, etc. But here we are feeling disappointed over a game that actually took risks. I know that sounds hypocritical, but this direction really lost the city building element of the first game that made that game feel very survivally, And I know I'm not the only one to say this. But not to worry, ladies and gentlemen, because 11-bit Studios has heard the feedback and the ramblings of people like us and has announced Frostpunk 1886, a new game in the Frostpunk franchise. At least that's the language used in the announcement, but the reality is this is actually just the first Frostpunk remake that 11-bit Studios promises will be expanded from the first game, so it's somewhat new, expanded experience from Frostpunk 1. Just trust me, bro. Yeah, this makes sense. The first Frostpunk has hit the 5 million units sold milestone, so a newer, improved and expanded version, perhaps the most definitive edition, would sell pretty well. It's a no-brainer really. And Frostpunk 1886 will be built using Unreal Engine, which I hope to God won't be a 100GB plus behemoth, which it likely will be, won't it? And require all those frame gen nonsense. Hopefully it's not on Unreal Engine 5, but maybe that's just foolish to hope 11-bit Studios stick to Unreal Engine 4. But considering the game is only slated to be out in 2027, I think it's gonna be UE5, yeah. Anyway, this has been exactly what we wanted, right? Almost. But it is what 11-bit Studios needs. A title that's sure to hit some sales goal, because 11-bit of course is a public listed company. And interestingly, their stock price soared up to 7% up a couple of days back, maybe with the news of Frostpunk 1886. But realistically though, there has been rumbling since last year about high production costs and the potential profitability of certain projects or lack thereof. Like Project 8, which was cancelled at the end of 2024, and the studio laid off the staff working on that project. 11-bit cites that narrative design games don't sell as much, claiming they didn't see much of a potential for Project 8 due to this. This is sort of weird coming from a company like 11-bit Studios, with games like Frostpunk that is quite heavily story focused, and who can forget this War of Mine? But you could say not primarily narrative driven, right, since both of those games are strategy games at its heart. I think the 11-bit Studio statement about narrative design game could be a bit of a miscom really. What I think Project 8 was is a venture into a genre that 11-bit Studios was not known for. They are trying to avoid the paradox interactive problem of jumping into genres that are not part of your core type of games. Possibly this is merely me speculating on this. Because look, even their published games like Indica, the Taumaturge, Creatures of Ava are somewhat narrative driven. It was reported that their publishing arm makes up about 26% of the company's revenue, which is a pretty good chunk of change. 11-bit Studios is a company not foreign to risky and bold ideas. Their upcoming game, The Altars, which I am very eagerly looking forward to, is a survival strategy game where you clone alternate versions of yourself to survive an alien planet. There's also a very strong emphasis on story here. Frostpunk 1886 could be seen as a move to do more safer bet projects. I have no doubt that 1886 will be a cool definitive version of Frostpunk 1, but it's not them pushing the boundaries of the game, most likely. And despite what I or others say about Frostpunk 2, Frostpunk 2 did sell very well for 11-bit Studios. By the end of 2024, Frostpunk 2 hit close to like 600,000 units in sales, and 11-bit Studios has stated their commitment in continuing to expand and improve Frostpunk 2 based on player feedback. So if you put the two together, they are making something for everyone. Now I only hope that Frostpunk 1886 won't be a performance hog of a game like any other Unreal Engine 5 game, but it's coming out in 2027, still a ways off. Actually, to be honest, I was kinda surprised that they announced this that early with zero screenshots of gameplay details beyond just new laws, new mechanics, new content and mod support, which is great of course. But give us a bone, 11-bit Studios, unless you really haven't started working on it yet. But as I said, the announcement perhaps did have an impact on its stock prices, so maybe the early announcement was to assure investors that yes, we have a new project based on the game that has sold 5 million copies so far. So keep staying excited and give us more of your damn money. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, do tell me in the comments, what did you think of the announcement of Frostpunk 1886? A remake that's maybe a little more than a straight up remake. Do you like Frostpunk 2 by the way? Which game did you prefer, the first or the sequel? Maybe it's time for me to think about getting a new PC for the coming years. If you like this video, do give it a like and subscribe to Moa's channel. It helps a lot as I push for 1000 subscribers. Thank you, dear viewer. I did a video on another strategy game I'm very excited for, Endless Legend 2. I got to play a demo build and I think it's actually quite different from the first game, but it still has the core of Endless Legend in there. Go check out that video over here. Thanks for watching and farewell, noble friends.